Okay. Where's my? All right, so we'll call this meeting to order at 7:03. Can I have a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Bit of conversation. I see we have Keith here. Do we want to move him up to after public comment? So he
Sorry,
doesn't
hold
have to
on.
wait through the whole meeting.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Absolutely. So as soon as we can get him on there, the better. Absolutely.
Okay. So we need to change the motion to accept the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Thank you. Second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Michael. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Acceptance of approval of the minutes from February 22nd and March 7th. We should do them separately since they're listed separately. You can list them together in the future.
Excellent. Sounds
You can
good to
mix
me.
them together. So we'll start with the approval of the minutes of February 22nd.
So moved.
Thank you, Blythe. Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Minutes from the regular commission meeting of March 7th. I will say that for an FOI and Robert's Rules point of order, that the executive session that was at the end of the night was not warned, nor was it put on the amended agenda in the beginning. So please be aware of that. And it needs to have a reason.
Got it.
Okay, so can we have a motion to accept those, please?
So moved.
I don't know who that was.
Second.
It was Mike.
This
It
is
was Mike.
Mike and
Yep.
Rufus, thank you. Any discussion, any other changes? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any noes? Okay, thank you. Jared, any correspondence or anyone any correspondence?
Nope.
Okay. Moving right along.
Negative.
Do director's report?
I don't have anything to report that isn't already in every other item on the agenda. So
Okay, fair enough. Public comment? I don't see anyone. Okay. So we will go straight to tactical laser tag program presentation.
okay, give me one sec.
Mhm.
John. Okay, John I had to add John in. Okay, excellent. So I believe everyone was looped in when the opportunity came up and I sent you guys an email. But basically, sorry, I'm trying to figure something out here. Today is the 22nd. No wonder why I'm not following along on the agenda, because I have the old
Oh,
agenda.
it's the 21st.
The 21st.
The 21st, my bad. No, I was just looking, I had the wrong agenda open on my computer. That would be why I was. Just give me one second. All right, cool. Awesome. All right. Yes. So basically, as I've mentioned to at least some of you before, and all of you in my previous email, in my former place of employment, we ran a laser tag program, tactical laser tag program with First Person Sports. And we ran that for, I mean, definitely at least 5 years. And it was tremendously successful. We ran it for middle school age children and some high schoolers as well. And, you know, very quickly it grew. And at certain points, I think, Keith, you'd agree, we were kind of maxed out on kids because the popularity was so great. And Keith and I had been speaking when I got the job here, and we were talking about in the future, maybe running some one-off events and, you know, trying to introduce, you know, TLT to Kent, Connecticut. but sorry about that. But he recently, he's coordinating with the town of Dover on their league, and it looks like they're not going to have enough kids to run their league independently. So he gave me a ring, and since we're really not that far, he was wondering if we'd be interested in teaming up with them, which I think is a great opportunity, and certainly, you know, just another different activity we'd be offering the kids of Kent CT. And thus I wanted to have Keith come tonight to kind of make us a little proposal and pitch, and also, you know, tell us a little bit more about the program and answer any questions you guys may have, since he's, you know, he does it all around lower New York and other areas. So he's here today, and I'm going to turn the mic over to him and let him tell us what he's all about.
Oh, thank you, Jared. The basic premise of the league has always been to create a new sport for kids that don't go out for traditional sports. We get a lot of kids that spend a lot of time in their basement playing games online that don't really get out and actually socialize. It's also it's a lot of exercise, which a lot of the kids are quite surprised about once they actually start playing. We currently run in Carmel, Brewster, Somers. We've run league seasons in Newtown, Connecticut. We've run league seasons in Putnam Valley. Dover joined us last season, but because they're on a smaller town size, they had some challenges getting enough kids because it's a newer program and they're still kind of growing it. On average, we wind up getting between 32 to 40 kids per season per town. Last season, we had 100 kids in the program between the three towns that we were running. The season before, we had 115 kids in the program. It's a 6-week program, all team-based. Teams will rotate, trying to earn points that are accumulated over the course of the entire season. We have a currency system in place that they use to buy upgrades and use as a currency during the games. And then the teams that place highest over the course of the season actually face off in a big tournament against each other at the end of the season. So you have competition between the towns as well. So this would be the first time that we would be proposing doing a season that's kind of two towns side by side for the entire season. I did talk to the ladies over at Dover today. They're definitely willing to share their season. They're kind of excited considering the close proximity between the two towns. Yeah, I mean, I figured I would come in this evening and see if anyone had any questions as far as questions about the program, how it runs, any, you know, basically here to answer any questions you might have.
And I'll just piggyback off what Keith just said. But so basically he came to us in Kent, New York. I don't know, it was a long time ago now, but
Six years.
basically, you know, there were some concerns in town, you know, laser tag and you know, the guns look like kind of futuristic guns and whatnot. And, you know, people had some concerns, but I think those were quickly remedied when they saw, you know, how great this was for the kids. Like Keith said, running around, it becomes basically another sport for them. And it's great, you know, they get to, they form their own teams, and, you know, those teams don't have coaches. The kids are, you know, forced to come up with strategy on their own and figure out the best ways to play. And what you end up with is a really great community of kids who might not have other activities that they're interested in, just as Keith said, but also gives them the chance to really run around, really work together. And what we saw a lot of with the program was retention of participants, which is always the biggest indicator of how successful a program could be. And, you know, the comments and the compliments from the parents were numerous. And, you know, we were just ecstatic. It became like a staple in the park every Thursday. Keith would have the music going and the kids would be running around, and it was really a sight to behold. So I can't speak more highly of it. And, you know, like Keith said, he and I are happy to answer any questions.
I have some questions.
Sure.
First, I want to say that actually gamers can come up with good strategies. So I think that's they're already used to strategy making in their game. So to be out there in the actual field and playing it, I think is a great thing, that you're a great way to get those gamers out of their room, like you said,
Yep.
and implement what they know. It's almost brings it to a different level. What is the cost of this?
It varies per town. We
Okay.
try and keep it competitive with the other programs that are run similar. Typically, we've usually run a full season per player between 120 to 140 for the whole season.
Okay.
And that includes the 6 weeks. We give them a league neck gaiter. We switched from t-shirts to gaiters in 2020. We actually made the face masks part of our uniform. And then we've decided to kind of keep them on for now. Actually, the kids really love them. Actually, there's a few kids in Carmel who I see walking around in town, not while they're playing league, still wearing their gaiters. So we've got that. We handle everything from the time, parents drop them off. Usually a session is 2 hours. A league session is about 2 hours. And then from drop off to pickup, we're pretty much running them solid.
Do you supply the guns?
Yeah, taggers
Okay.
we bring everything. We set up, basically what we try and do is find a spot that lends itself to the game. So if, for instance, in Carmel, we were able to play in a kind of a cross training hiking trail. So we were playing out in the woods.
Okay.
Somers uses kind of a combination area that is half field and half trees. So we add a few pop-ups into that area, and actually we're able to drive our bus onto the field there as well. So that becomes part of the field.
Okay.
And then Brewster also plays out in the woods on one of their hiking trails.
So if we were to team up with Dover, how far along are they? Do you have dates set with them, tentative dates? Do you have a field?
We typically start the week after Easter break or spring break. So I believe that's the week of the 19th. So what we would do is Dover's days are Mondays typically. So it would be, the 18th is that Monday.
Okay.
So we usually go 4 to 6 o'clock.
Okay.
What we're thinking right now, and again, I'm open to kind of a conversation in regards to what you guys are comfortable with as well. We would run 3 weeks of the program there, 3 weeks of the program in Kent. We could either piggyback, jump back and forth, or do a 3 and 3 split. So
Okay.
I'm open to, how everyone would like to do that.
Do they have a good field for you to work in already?
Theirs is, I'm not sure if you're familiar
Place.
with their park where their office is, but we actually play the building that their office is in. We actually play around that entire building under the pavilion,
Okay.
and then around the whole bush area on the other side.
Okay.
Approximately how big an area are you talking about?
So we can play small or we can play big. Our equipment on a sunny day has a range of 600 feet. Typically with playing with 4-player teams, which is what we've been doing for the last probably 3 or 4 years. The only time we tried running larger than that was when we had a massive waiting list in Carmel, and we decided to run 60 players for the season instead of just 40. We went back down to 40. It's a lot of players all at once. But typically we I'd say if I had to put a size to it, maybe half a football field if we have a good amount of cover.
Okay. And average ages you said was like middle school ages?
Middle school, yeah. So
Okay.
some towns that it's odd up in this area.
Yeah,
Some school systems that's 5th through 8th, some it's 6th through 8th. I guess Dover, so there's a combination in some of the schools where they're in for longer. So typically we look for the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. But
Okay.
we've also expanded into what we're calling our varsity programs now. We've got high schools, kids that are in the program as well.
I was gonna say they're adult leagues.
We do on our private end, we do just as many adult events and corporate team building events as we do kids' birthday parties.
And my last question was, you talked about currency for upgrades, which again, I like how it goes in with the gamer kids.
Yep.
So is that physical money or do they earn currency somehow?
So we call them combat credits.
Okay.
There are a few different ways that they earn them. There are basically they get a weekly salary for their team. Then they are awarded credits for winning games. They use those credits to, as I mentioned, purchase upgrades for their equipment. So they may have equipment that uses a different type of ammo that does more damage over time, or gives them special perks throughout the game. So it incentivizes them to really strategize, not just what they're doing on the field, but how they're spending that currency, what they're saving up for. If they know they're going up against one of the better teams later on in the day, you'll see them kind of keeping a bunch of credits off to the side so that they can then spend them and buy a larger upgrade for those games. The other thing that we do is we require the players to make predictions at the start of every game, which is they have to predict which team they believe is going to win. And if they get it correct, they get a boost of combat credits. We did that because we found that, especially with this age group, if you're not constantly engaging them, they will get distracted. They're like, they're puppies.
Yeah,
So
very
what
easily.
we found was doing that got them more interested in what was going on in the field, because they had a vested interest. Even if they're not playing, they have skin in the game, so to speak, with those predictions.
Perfect. If we pass this tonight, I have one to sign up. One kid to sign up.
And they can sign up as full teams as well. So it's not all random draw. So if players have 3 other players that they want to sign up with, they can sign up as a full team of 4.
Okay, teams of 4. Okay, I'll hand over. Anybody else have questions?
That was a question I was going to ask, was just in terms of the formation of teams, especially since it would not just be kids from Kent who already know each other. I would be a little nervous about the Kent kids versus the Dover kids, whether or not that's because then they have to work together against Brewster or against Carmel or something like that. So, have you experienced that before, where you have kids who really don't know each other who are coming in and having to learn about each other and about the game and playing together effectively?
Yes, actually we did. Last year was our first season where we introduced our varsity program. And because it was a new program, we actually ran all of our sessions in Carmel, and it was open to high school players from Somers, Brewster, and Carmel. So we actually had players from all 3 school districts coming into Carmel every week and playing together. And it actually wound up being a really great program. The difference between a lot of sports and what we do is as the person that operates most of the events, I am very specific in the way that players relate to one another. A friendly competitiveness is encouraged, but anything beyond that is, the one thing I tell the players all the time I want to hear after every game is good game. It's not so much, walking down and shaking hands, but we want to encourage all the players to not just get to know each other. We have a league Discord that all the players are invited to, which I personally moderate, so that they have interaction in between seasons. So we encourage them to talk, to use, to go to the more experienced players for advice, to, just to kind of general friendly chat. And we've had actually a really positive experience from all the players in regards to their interaction with one another.
How many staff are usually there for 40 kids running around?
For 40 kids, we usually have 2 staff members. Our equipment is actually very efficient, I guess is the best way to put it. With that many kids, 2 staff members is enough to keep them in check. Like I said, having them focused on what's going on the field, as well as, we've got 2 sets of teams that are on deck, as well as the 8 that are on the field playing. So chances are everyone's got something going on, and everyone knows which teams they're up against in the upcoming rounds, and everyone's usually sitting down trying to strategize for their upcoming games.
We've got 2 good parks that you could work out of. But what about liability insurance? How much do you have? You're
We
covered?
have a $2 million aggregate.
Okay, and then you're going to let these parents sign the forms?
So actually, fortunately, our insurance does not require waivers. As a
Okay.
mobile company, it's very difficult to get those, especially when you're doing a random birthday on a Saturday, you know, trying to get a bunch of kids' parents to sign waivers. So fortunately, our insurance does not require it. So we do require them to sign the town's waivers. So anything that you require them to sign through Parks and Recreation and through the municipality, you know, we kind of jump right on there, and, you know, any paperwork that has to be done is usually more what you guys require than what I require.
Yeah, it seems to be very popular. My cousin's kids, they're always down in Mill Plain Road at Extreme Sports. They're always down laser tag thing, and they love it.
Yep. Yeah, actually, the facility down the street, Thrills, uses similar equipment to what we use, and I actually train them how to use their gear.
Oh, cool. Excellent.
Yeah,
Could you
so
share
just-
the,
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Could you share the names of the towns that are offering this program?
Sure. This upcoming
Again, I
season,
know.
it's Carmel, Somers in Westchester, Brewster, through the town of Southeast Recreation, and Dover.
In Dover.
We've
And you
also run
mentioned
in Putnam
Newtown?
Valley and Newtown, Connecticut.
And when was the last time, when was Newtown running this program?
Newtown ran, I think it was in about 4 years ago. We ran as an experiment with an indoor field house.
Indoor?
Yeah, we did it as kind of an experiment. As a company, we try to avoid indoor field houses just because of the additional work. The program was quite successful. It was the facility that caused us to step away from the program. But we did actually get a lot of calls afterwards from the parents of the players for private events, since we weren't going to be running the league program there again.
And where was it? What was I know the town pretty well.
It
What was
was
The youth,
NYA.
Newtown Youth,
Youth Academy. Yeah,
Youth
NYA
Academy
is-
by the old psychiatric center.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Cool.
I don't know. I'll just ask about just injuries. Are people trained to, you know, kind of
So, someone
intercede?
on site
somebody-
is always first aid certified and CPR certified. Fortunately, and I don't want to jinx myself, but in the 13 years we've been running tactical laser tag, we have yet to have any serious injuries whatsoever. Fortunately, I've never had to use our insurance in 13 years. Yeah, no,
Having
so I
seen
gotta
it
knock on everything.
firsthand, it's honestly, it's on line with any other sport. Running around, chance of injuries, I'd put it on par with soccer or something similar.
And all these towns are running them through their Parks and Rec?
Yes. Yeah, we found that, and that was the experiment we did when we started with Kent, was we wanted to partner with an organization, and we find that middle school students are one of the most underserved demographics as far as kids programming out there. You know, elementary school, it's very easy to find programs for elementary school kids. High school kids have a lot of, you know, traditional sports and programming, whether it's theater or music or things like that. But middle school tends to fall between the cracks. So we wanted to find a way to create a program that really incentivized them to get out, you know, run around and really socialize with each other in a way that they don't normally get to. We have all the benefits of a multiplayer online experience with none of the risk of who they're interacting with, and whether it's an unsupervised interaction where they're going to deal with someone on some random person online that they're going to have an unpleasant experience playing with. So we try and take as many of the pros and eliminate as many of the cons as we can. And it's funny because the activity of the game itself almost becomes secondary to the strategy and the way that they're trying to move through the season. The game kind of becomes more of a vehicle for all that to happen, as opposed to the primary focus.
Any other questions? All right.
I just want to thank Keith for, Keith, I appreciate you reaching out with this opportunity. I know obviously it helps Dover too, but I'm glad that you and I had such a good connection that you felt you could reach out our way. And obviously the commission will have to think things over, but we do certainly need to make a decision ASAP. That way, you can let Dover know, because obviously
One
what they're
quick
gonna do
question.
depends on what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Keith, have you've already sort of started this up in Dover, so how many kids are you looking for? Do you have a general idea?
So Dover struggled last season just because they're a little on the smaller side. The first season we wound up with 8 teams. So we wound up with 32 players in their first season. We had a couple of players that showed up and kind of slacked her off, and they kind of quickly learned that it wasn't just after school laser tag. It is a organized sport. So we had almost enough kids to start the second season, but they were just a little short, and they started their advertising a little late, which is always the longer you can get the word out, the better. So we circled back with them this season, and they don't have a specific number yet because they haven't started to get the word out. But typically we try to get at least 8 teams for a season. We can run lean and have 6 teams, or squads as we call them. So even if each town came up with 3 squads, we can run the season.
Okay, thanks.
Especially for early seasons, as we're building programs, we'll run a little lighter than we would with some of our other towns. Like Somers every year has a waiting list where we wind up actually having to reject people. And that's with a cap of 40.
Is there anything that says that the person has to be from Kent or Dover? Can it, is that our rule?
I'm usually more flexible with that than the towns are. We've played as far as Boston, Philadelphia, and Syracuse. So for me, the more the merrier. Usually that comes down to the municipalities, and if they want kids from outside, or if it is, depending on if your town has those kind of outlying communities that are still part of the school district or maybe a different town, I'm absolutely fine. If you want to try and get as many people as possible, I'm okay with that.
Okay. Very good. Like I said, I have one already, so.
Yeah, we actually have kids in the program that started in 5th grade and are now juniors in high school and have played every season. We play 2 seasons a year, not just once a year. We do a spring season and a fall season, and they have played in every season since the program begun. And 2 of them now actually are employees of mine. They've
That's great.
starting as 5th graders all the way to now they're referees.
Awesome. Any other questions? All right, Keith, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for your time, everyone.
You're
and
welcome to stay, but I'm sure you have other things to do.
Not a problem. If anyone has any questions, Jared knows how to get a hold of me, email, phone calls, whatever you guys need.
Okay, he'll be back in touch with you.
Excellent.
Thanks,
All right,
Keith.
have a
I'll
great
talk
night,
to you
everyone.
soon,
Thank
all right? Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You guys want to act on that now or talk about it some more, or how do you feel?
I mean, should we just, can we, do we need to wait until later in the agenda, or can we cross it off the list now?
I think since we're here and it's all fresh and we're dealing with it, we might as well finish it up.
I like the idea that you might be getting kids that don't normally go run around outside. So you're taking their gamer interests and getting them outside.
Mhm.
I sort of look at this kind of the way paintball was a few years ago, to some extent, and
But safer.
but safer.
Yeah, I will
Definitely
definitely
safer.
say those are the kids that we always, when we do a paintball trip or a laser tag trip, those are the kids who sign up and go. The ones who are, not necessarily the ones out playing soccer all the time or throwing the Frisbee around, but the ones who are in the rooms, a little bit alternate athletes.
Right.
But it's huge. But we sell out those trips every time we do them.
Like, do you go down to the one in Danbury?
Yeah, we've been down there. We used to go, there used to be a number of years ago, there was one in Winstead,
Mhm.
laser tag place in Winstead, but, and then we go down, I can't remember, for paintball, down, Liberty Paintball?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
is that
down
on
by Thunder
22?
Ridge and in Patterson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So always really popular trips with our kids.
Those are indoor?
Mm-mm.
No?
The one in Winstead was, but the paintball obviously is outside, but the ones in Danbury are all indoor.
Yep.
Yeah.
Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion. To
Make a
proceed with setting up paintball activities in
Laser
Laser
tag.
tag.
Oh, sorry. Laser tag in conjunction with the town of Dover.
Second.
Thank you, Rufus. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? I would like to, thank you, motion carries. I would like to add one more thing. This would be considered a fee program, so we would need to add 10% to their price.
Got it.
And in
All
terms
right.
of opening it up, I think we'll open it up to the town and give them priority, but perhaps
Absolutely.
if we can't fill in the gaps, open it up to other towns. And what the date would be to cut for that cutoff.
I think
If it
in the
starts
long
the
run,
19th, perhaps a week before the program starts.
We could see what kind of leeway Keith needs.
once the word
to make
gets
sure
out,
that That's okay for a time frame.
once the word gets out, New Milford will start coming up. So you'll have a lot of people.
That's what I'm
Yeah, I
thinking.
just-
That's what she's talking about, offering it just to Kent
Yeah.
first, but
Yeah.
we don't really have a policy on that, and maybe that's something that we could work on at some point. Sometimes in the past, sometimes we invite other towns in and sometimes they're not. So it's not consistent.
I think for new programs that we're introducing to the town, I think we should try to keep it open to the town. And if we don't get interest, we should have like a ballpark, like a week before the program. If we don't have the numbers, open it up to other towns.
If we put
So we
it
can
out there,
prioritize our town, since this is our energy that we're putting towards it.
Mhm.
I think it would make sense.
Let's just see if we can prioritize Kent.
Some kind of waiting list if you're not from Kent.
Yeah. I'm sure that Jared can figure out how to do that with how he writes the ad.
No problem.
Thanks.
Or make sure we're not breaking any rules, or like I said, I don't remember anything in writing that says whether we prioritize Kent or not. So
We are, it's Kent Parks and Rec. So why wouldn't we prioritize our town for our programs that we're putting our energy into designing?
just saying, I want to make sure that there's nothing prohibiting us from doing that. I would agree with you. I agree with what we want to do. I just want to make sure that there's nothing that says that we can't do that. That somebody from Cornwall says, they see it on social media or whatever, and they say, my son wants to join, and we're like, well, no, you can't, because we don't know how many kids from Kent are coming yet. I don't know.
Okay, there's nothing in the bylaws or the Constitution that
Correct.
specifies it.
I agree.
For your reference, just because we
Yes, I
spent
know
a lot
that.
of time with it. So I don't know where else you would be looking.
That's what I was saying. Maybe something like that at some point should be added, just so we're consistent with it, whatever way we decide, but not now. We will move on to starting with old business, online registration and program management software discussion. You're muted, Jared.
Sorry. Yeah, just following up on the previous discussion. Last we left off, we had received 2 quotes, one from Civic Rec, one from My Rec. We all agreed that the lower of the two quotes would be, we would use that as our maximum with respect to the funds we'd request from the Board of Selectmen, which the following day I did. And they did approve it. And obviously it's now with the Board of Finance, so anything can change. But we requested $3,000. They approved $3,000. Now it's to the Board of Finance. I just actually, not 20 minutes ago, got a third quote from a company called Rec Desk. I haven't had a chance to really look at it in depth, but we really can't make any decisions until we're certain that the Board of Finance is going to approve this for next year, because we need to be able to fund it next year. So I think, outside of answering any questions you guys may have, we certainly don't need to vote on anything tonight. And this way I can get you the third quote. You guys can look at all three of them. And obviously I'll make a recommendation, which you can do whatever you want with. And then we can decide how to move forward. But I think right now, outside of, like I said, answering questions, I don't believe it's time yet to make a decision.
Just for a point of reference, there is a Board of Finance meeting Wednesday at 6 p.m. I don't know what's on the agenda, but I'm guessing it's budget, and I don't know if they'll get to us, but if anybody wants to listen in on that. Okay. How's that there?
Does anyone have any questions?
No, just appreciate the legwork you're doing on it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no problem. It's honestly, all of these companies have great technology. They wouldn't have survived this long if they didn't. It's just a matter of who's going to give us what we perceive to be the best bang for our buck. And I want to really review that third proposal before I, even make any recommendations. And so ideally what I'll do this week is send all three of them out, so you'll have them all together. And then our next meeting, we can at least kind of really hash it out. And then as soon as the Board of Finance, in theory, approves that part of the budget, and we know we're going to have it moving forward, we can then contract with the company and get started.
Good. All right. Spring and summer programming, tennis program update, anything on that?
I'll defer to
and
Julia for that.
Yeah, I think that we're going to hold off until the fall. Both Michael and I aren't able to commit to it in the spring, and I don't think the USTA has been able to find a coach. We sent out a couple of feelers locally, but I also don't think that it's a bad thing to have it be a one season sport either, like the rest of the ones that we offer. Give kids a chance to dive into the laser tag and softball and baseball and stuff and pick it back up in the fall.
Any questions on that? Softball and baseball update?
Okay, so last meeting, Abigail had recommended and the commission agreed to that we do a survey of the parents in the area, in the town, I should say, to get a sense of what they're looking for out of their baseball and softball program. And Abigail and I put our heads together and came up with a very brief but kind of to the point survey that gave us the info we needed. And without giving you all the results, basically the way it worked was anyone, will say third grade and under, generally preferred that programs be kept in-house, played with Kent kids, in Kent, run by Kent, etc. And the families of older children generally didn't really care whether they were local or whether it was Region 1, playing with the other Region 1 towns. So I've been working on a registration form and flyer, and basically what I think, given the responses, what I think it's looking like is what I'd like to do is a 3- and 4-year-old program, which would be in-house, 5- and 6-year-old program in-house, 7- and 8-year-old program. Sorry, I'm using ages. I mean to use grades. Pre-K in-house, kindergarten, first grade in-house, Then second and third in-house, and then fourth through sixth would be played with the other Region 1 towns. And then I'd also just like to offer a softball clinic for fourth through sixth grade, which would be girl specific. And yeah,
There's-
that's basically it.
7th and 8th grade program in school?
In theory, there should be. I can't speak
Sure.
to that, to be honest.
Okay, just don't want to leave them out.
Thanks, Jared, for collecting that data. It's really nice to hear from the community what they're seeking.
Yeah, it was well received. We got, I mean, within a day, we had like 60 responses. So it was really, I think people are pleased that we're thinking of them and seeking their input.
Yeah, it's great.
Where was this survey put out? Was it on our Facebook page or just through the school or?
Email, Facebook, and the school.
Okay. I don't think I got it.
Okay.
Minor
Uh,
league baseball. Yeah.
You mind if I
sorry.
say one thing? Sorry. Jared, any thoughts on the equipment inventory that we went through? Anything that we should be prepared for on the purchase side?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna need to purchase some new gear, some new bats, balls, tees, the whole nine. We have the money in the budget. I'm not concerned about that. And it's tough to say how much we'll need without knowing how many people are gonna sign up. But we're definitely gonna need to buy several $100s worth of equipment. And Michael, thank you again for helping me sort through all that. I know it was a messy job, but we found a lot of dated equipment. I was explaining to Michael that, a lot of the standards on the equipment has changed. So, for example, catchers, you can't use certain helmets that you were able to use 10 years ago. Bats, they've made the bats deader now so that the ball doesn't come off as fast. So we ended up scrapping a lot of things that you just can't use it. Like, it's just not legal anymore. So we'll definitely have to replace that. And that's something, within the next few weeks, I'd get an order together, especially once we see how many people are signing up.
Thanks, Michael, for helping cull through
Yeah,
the
no.
equipment.
Yeah, definitely. I just wanted Jared to share that piece about some of the dated stuff that wasn't up to code anymore. Thanks, Jared.
Yeah, no problem. So I do believe I would like to start registration for baseball tomorrow, baseball and softball, I should say. And did everyone have a chance to look at oh, I didn't put it in the backup. That's my fault. Maybe because I wasn't finished. But basically, here, I'll share my screen. Give me 1 second. And I'll show you what I was kind of looking at for a registration form and flyer. Because we do need to get this started ASAP. Give me 1 second here.
Do we really need to approve the form and the flyer, or are you just showing it to us so we just see it?
I hope you don't need to approve it, but I do think the content, I want to make sure that when I advertise that there's no, that, I didn't do anything I wasn't supposed to do or whatever. I mean, if you guys just want to say, hey, we approve Jared to advertise the baseball program, then that's fine. I'm totally game with that.
I think
but
I think we could let you advertise for the program. I think you've had a good success rate so far. We could probably
Okay.
move on to the next thing. Do
Does
we have to
anyone-
make any motions about having the program, or have we already done that?
I don't remember a motion being done to have the program. I don't recall that.
I'd like to make a motion for us to offer a preschool smart T-ball clinic, a K-1 T-ball for, the ball clinic 6 weeks. The T-ball for K-1 is 8 weeks. Grades 2 through 3, farm league, that will be coach pitched for 8 weeks. Baseball for 4th to 6th graders, a minor league player pitched, which will travel. That's a traveling one, right? Jared? All the rest
Yeah.
that I've said previously would be just done in Kent.
Yeah.
And then a softball for grades 4 through 6. That's skill development, 6-week program. I covered all of them, right?
Oh, look at that. I had included it in the,
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't think I had sent it to you guys. Yes, you did cover everything.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you, Rufus. Any further discussion?
Is there a fee?
That's what I was gonna say. We need to discuss the fees, and I don't, that, that I don't know the proper format for setting.
Charge
those
the
fees.
same as we did for the basketball program-ish?
I wouldn't recommend that. No, we charge $5 for the basketball. I think we need to be considerably higher than that, but I don't want to speak out of turn, so I'll let you guys figure that one out. And you could ask me if you have any questions.
Well, the travel obviously is gonna cost a lot of money. Buses are expensive.
Parents
busing
bring them, we
people?
don't
Those are
charge them.
just parents. It's
Parents
just
bring
parents.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a long time since my kids did this stuff. Wow. So, I mean, I don't know, does anybody have an idea of what we would talk about, or I would ask Jared what you think is a reasonable charge?
Well, I think the question is, what are we looking, I don't know yet, and we haven't been able to have a discussion about this philosophically, but are we looking, do these programs operate at a loss, subsidized by the operating budget? Are we expected to break even? Excuse me, I'm sorry. Do you guys have a standard ratio that you follow in terms of revenue versus expenses? That would kind of give me a better sense of how I need to move, how I would make a recommendation.
We've always charged basically $5. We talked about in the budget, which doesn't start until July, of moving it to 20. Yes, we are subsidized by the town based on, we put in our revenue and our expenses, and yes, they subsidize. I'm sure they would love to see us come out more even. That would be wonderful for the town to see Park and Rec come out more even or have to be less subsidized. At this point, although $20 is not a lot, we are raising it $15 off the bat. So I would say at least 20 or 25. That's my idea.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I'll make whatever work I have to. It's, I know, like, for example, Learn to Skate, right? We charged, now there's expenses with that, of course, but we charged over $100 per person for that. So it seems like we're kind of all over the map. And, if we run a baseball program and that baseball program starts mid-April, it's going to go all the way to the end of the school year. So theoretically, you have 2 months of baseball, so 8 to 10 weeks. Learn to Skate was 13 weeks, and it was you paid about $10 a week, right? So let's say even if we did that same thing for baseball, you're looking at $80 to $100 a person, which obviously I know you guys don't want to be there. So I just wonder if, I know we're concerned about raising it from 5 to 25 because it is direct comparison seems like it is a tremendous increase. It's, whatever, 300%. But compared to some of the other programs, it still seems like it's too low. And I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. I'm just, I come from a different school of thought. So like I said, I don't want to impose my will because it really is inconsequential.
Well, and we just approved a laser tag program for $120 to $140 a person.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
So,
So
I
the
wonder if we
difference-
could go graded scale. Maybe the little guys are a little less expensive, or
sorry, you'd think it works that way, but
doesn't
unfortunately,
work that way, huh?
the smaller
Well, I
kids,
think that-
the specialized equipment ends up costing just as much, if not even more.
We're comparing,
Apples and oranges.
I think it has to do with the quality of the program in terms of the fee and how well organized it is. and who is doing the coaching to start to justify increasing. So I personally, I think that we should stick with the fee and do it through the end of this year, since that's the fee we've been charging. And if we want to rethink how much we're charging for this type of a program, do it come September. And then it's an increase to all Parks and Rec, and it's a new season.
It'll start July 1st with the new budget.
Well, I'm just thinking about school year. When we start doing fall programming for the school year, everybody comes back and it's a new,
Right, it'd be a
New
new
fee
fee
for the
that we would
programming. Yeah.
we would carry on what we're currently doing. What are we, do we have people lined up for coaching?
We haven't started registration yet, so until we start registration, it's hard to know who's going to volunteer. So that's why, like I said, I'd like to, whatever, basically I'm ready to do this tonight, or I'll probably stay up late tonight and get it all set to go out via email in the morning.
And there's no doubt, Jared, when I sat at the table and collected money for basketball, and I heard it with soccer as well, everybody's like, $5 for the session?
Yeah, exactly.
No one believes that it's $5 for the season. Like, I think just from hearing parents, like, everybody thinks it's a steal. So it definitely can go up. I just, if we wanted it to increase it, maybe we increase it to 10 for this one, but I think a bump to $20 or $25 is pretty extreme, and you might turn people off. Just, here's a new park and rec director, suddenly everything's a lot more expensive. What's going on? So just give everybody a chance to ease into it.
I think like I said, to whatever we do. But for example, a t-shirt, if we're charging $10, it's already going to cost more for a t-shirt than they paid for the entire program. That doesn't include the fact that we have no age appropriate baseballs, very few age appropriate bats, very, very little age appropriate equipment, period. Like right now, baseballs, if I want to order safety T-balls, $60 a dozen. So like I said, it really doesn't matter. I just want to be transparent in the fact that we will operate, the program will be a loss significantly, which if that's the way this is set up, then that's great. I mean, I have no problem with that at all. I just want to be clear, I go and order a shirt, it'll be more than they paid for the registration for the program.
And but I think that you're saying that we have the budget to run the program. And, I think perhaps a goal is to break even down the road.
You have a budget,
And maybe
revenue, you've got to be cognizant of bringing in revenue to cover it. Yeah, and you're not going to cover all the programs, but so, I mean, I think 20 would be a start at least in the direction that you're eventually going to go in.
Well, if 20 is where we're going to land next year, I would almost rather go, could you say it's 15 and it includes a t-shirt? I don't know. But, I mean, I think it's important that people understand that we've had to buy, all this new equipment that costs money. I mean, batting helmets and bats and these kinds of things cost money. So I think, $5 is nice, but it's not, to me, it's far from anything realistic in terms of, an 8 to 10 week program for your kid that's, 12 cents a week. Whatever. Don't count my math, but
Your English, not math.
yeah, exactly. So, I feel like $5 is too little. And I feel like if we're going to 20 next year, as a general rule, I mean, maybe some of the programs that we offer, we can get away with 20, but maybe there are others that are always going to be more expensive and we need to, look at the fees more carefully later. But obviously in the interest of time, at this point, I'm thinking about the outlay for the equipment. Plus, if we're going to buy everybody a t-shirt, and, we usually get a coach's gift or something like that. So I would recommend Somewhere between $5 and $20.
I would recommend, because just to avoid the sticker shock of next year, if we're going up to a more realistic fee, I would think going from 5 to 25 would be, I think that's a little unfair. I would rather raise it now to a more realistic number.
So can I add to the motion for a fee of 15?
I'm sorry, I just another thing. I mean, I think $25 though next year is also unrealistically low. I think if we're going to be raising it next year, we should be raising it to certainly a much higher number. And so this year, raising it to something like 25, if we're looking for the happy medium compromise, to me, that's where we would need to be if next year we're trying to avoid, as Kate, eloquently said, sticker shock. I think that's the perfect way to say it. I think raising it to 25 this year and then raising it even further next year is the direction in which we need to be going. I mean, we just asked for $30,000 to fix the playing fields, and we need to be able to justify that with revenue. I mean, that was the first question that Glenn Sanchez asked me. Are we going to be bringing in revenue as we use these fields? And I think we need to start, if we're starting to think about the long term now and finding the happy medium on the way to those long term numbers, I think $10 or $15 really, it doesn't really put us in a very strong position for the next year. So we raise it to 25. It's still not where we really need to be next year either.
So I think we need to have some information about where you think these numbers need to be, Jared, because I think we're kind of a little talking out of left field right now, and give us a sense of, like, here's the money that needs to go into the program. Here's the stuff we need to buy. Here's my recommendation on how much it should cost. Because right now it's all conjecture and we're just kind of throwing numbers out. And even Lynn did math and said, I think that this needs to get up to 25. You're saying it needs to be higher than that. So I think it's very hard for us to make a call.
Yeah, we should.
I don't think we have enough information.
We should
So,
make the decision on real data. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
However, $5 to me,
Yeah,
I mean,
of course.
that's ridiculously unrealistic. When my kids were going through park and rec programs a long time ago, I think it was even more than $5 back then.
Yeah, I don't know how we ended up with the $5 number.
I think there was minimal expenses. Again, remember, everything has like doubled and tripled in cost since the last few years. So we could buy a t-shirt, really cheaply, or for the $5. There wasn't a lot of expenses. You buy the equipment, except for the t-shirts, a lot of that equipment, and maybe, you got to buy baseballs every year, but you don't need to buy bats every year. You don't need to buy helmets every year, correct, Jared? Like, some of this stuff will be used for a couple years.
Yeah, I mean, you need
So you
balls every
extend
year
the cost
generally.
out. So
Yeah, balls, umpires,
Well,
etc.
umpires are only for those travel games, maybe.
Yeah,
And
no, but you're looking
if they're
at
paid umpires. We do actually have paid, there is money for paying umpires for Little League and stuff. But there was minimal cost before. We didn't have to pay any coaches. They were all volunteer. So again, the only thing we had to do, and we hardly ever bought bats. I'll tell you, that took a few months one time when we were trying to figure out what bats to buy. And yeah, that's a whole nother story. But this isn't bats and helmets and things like that. The larger costs aren't yearly costs. So
Well, we also have, I feel like the amount of money that we've been asked to put into the upkeep of that field.
yeah,
We're talking about replacing sheds, and we're talking about grub control and crazy. I mean, we've spent a lot of money on those fields. So, there are
there's that cost too, right?
and that's an annual cost. I mean, at
But
least the
again, that-
field cost is an annual cost.
We did not have that cost before. The fields weren't taken care of properly.
Right.
So we had, and Kent School paid for a lot of that stuff. This is new that we've had to take over it.
Yep.
So there were not a lot of expenses involved before. So we were trying to keep the cost down, and we were able to do that with minimal loss. When you go to things like Learn to Skate, we have to pay $300 an hour or $200 an hour for ice time. So that's a much bigger expense at 3 or 4 times, the 3 times that we did it and the 9 times for Learn to Skate. So that's, that has to cost more because there's much higher expenses for that.
And I'll just add with the playing fields that we're not the only ones that use it. So our programs shouldn't be looked at that we're just covering the cost for that. That's also used by the public school for sports.
I just think that
So-
we can, not that I want to use these things to justify, a higher cost, but there is a significant outlay on our part that for things that we've not had to do. We have not had to replace equipment, and there is depreciation of equipment over time, and there's the field maintenance and and those kinds of things. So, I think that people, I think they must expect that when they're registering for something and being asked to pay $5, that they know it's an enormous steal. Oh, there's a baseball metaphor again.
Oh yeah,
but,
no, for sure. I can validate that by from collecting money from parents.
Yeah. So, if it's, if it's time is money, it's an hour and a half's worth of practice. So, a week and then a game for 8 to 10 weeks, it's a lot of time. It's certainly some outlay now. And I think we need to be prepared to probably over the, once we get through this year, look at all of these fees and accept that there are going to be some that will be higher, some that will be lower, and that there's going to be some sticker shock that people are going to have to deal with everywhere. But I also feel that people are starting to see that Park and Rec is like increasing in value in the town. I mean, all the word of mouth is fantastic. And when you want something that's vibrant and engaging, you are going to support it by helping to offset the costs. So my feeling is we should at least, I don't want to have another special meeting to talk about how much we want to charge for baseball, since we want to try to move forward. But I wonder if we need to land somewhere more realistically, in the middle, but over what we were thinking we wanted to have the cap be for next year, even if it means that we're going to $35 or something like that. Knowing that we will again raise it next year.
I think we also have to see what happens when we raise it and how the community responds to it.
I don't think
We are
there's gonna
working
be-
really hard to build back our programs and get the community to be interested. And we've made a concerted effort to do that with soccer and with basketball. We're trying to get people to come back and engage with programming in our town. I'm not arguing for a specific number. I'm just saying we have to,
I know we're sort of speaking sort of philosophically about a number because we're not dealing with actual data, but I think we can kind of go with our gut in terms of a family that's used to paying $5 for a program like this to being confronted with paying $20 for a program like this, and how they would. You have to balance. Yes, Park and Rec has a new energy, a new vibrancy. Everyone's super excited with, oh, well, now look, it's costing us this much money to participate. What kind of a town are we becoming? You know what I mean? So I would certainly not want us to have that kind of word of mouth either. But I think what would be really helpful, Jared, put something on your plate, is if we decide sort of philosophically that $20, I think we all know that if it was a $20 program, it's probably not going to cover all the expenses, judging from what you've been saying. So if we go to $20 right now, maybe you could come back to us next time with some numbers that would indicate to the town, what does that, what kind of a deficit are we running by charging even $20?
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
absolutely.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, John.
Hey, Rufus, are you still in touch with the Milford Youth Baseball Softball Leagues?
I haven't really been in touch with the youth leagues. I know they've gone down in numbers considerably.
Okay.
You
know of anybody you can call?
I could call some people. And see what their fees are. I'm gonna text somebody right now. It's a good idea.
Then we can come
And
back to.
I would also
you-
think that whatever we're charging for the travel league is going to have to probably be the same that the other towns in the region are charging for the
Yeah,
travel
which
league.
is 25.
So I think we have a fee for that, 25, because that's what all the other towns are charging. So I think we're talking about preschool, pre-K, T-ball for K through 1, and farm league for 2nd and 3rd graders that's coach pitched. Because based on what you're saying, Jared, the 4th and 5th grade program, both baseball and softball is going to be 25 because that's what the other towns are charging. We can't charge more than what the other towns are charging, and we probably shouldn't charge less because that would not make a lot of sense.
Can we move on, come back to this a little bit later? When we get some information from Rufus?
No, I think
we're
we have
really
a
looking
motion
for
on
the
the
fee.
table.
Okay, all right, no problem.
And on top of that, Jared talked about getting this out tomorrow and he should have a number on there.
Yeah, but I think Rufus was on the phone to somebody.
So I think that what we're trying to understand is what the charge would be for T-ball, a clinic for preschoolers, a T-ball for K through 1, and a farm league that's coach pitched for 2nd and 3rd graders.
For 8
And the
weeks.
travel team for 8 weeks, and the travel team is going to be $25 because that's what the other towns are charging. So Rufus, if your connections are
For the
doing
little
these
kids.
programs for really, for pre-K through 3rd grade, and they're all being hosted at our town. They are not traveling, and they're, from, a T-ball clinic to T-ball to coach pitch farm league.
Ellen, if we've got
And it can't be
25
more
at
than
the,
25.
yeah, if we got a 25 at the high end, you could literally just grade it down each step of the way. You could say it's, 15 for the, maybe it's 10 for the littlest guys and 15 for the mid-level and 25 for the travel and the softball.
Rufus, are you trying to get a hold of somebody now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we suspend that motion until we can move on a little bit and come back?
Yeah, let's move on.
Okay.
Sorry, real fast. I was just looking to compare for what Chipaw's doing for their 5 and 6 year olds between May 1st and April 3rd. So that's like Washington, Roxbury. It's just T-ball practice and stuff. I think that it's usually just, it's only Saturday mornings, 1 practice a week. They're charging $50.
Wow. And they have
I
the
don't know how
equipment.
many hours it is, but like for 5 to 6 years old, it's probably only 1 hour.
And they have the equipment already.
Mm-hmm. It's just a clinic.
It's a great data point. Thanks, Julia.
Yeah, it's excellent.
It's $50 across the board for just their clinics, 7 to 8 year olds as well. And that's with 1 practice during the week and a game on Saturdays.
Yeah, we can come back.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how to suspend that motion.
Oh,
Can you
since I made it, I should just suspend it?
rescind it? Yeah, just rescind it and
Yeah.
we'll redo it.
I'll rescind the motion
Okay.
that I just made, but I'm not going to repeat it because it's a long one.
Yeah, that was, it has
That
to
was
be
a big-
shortened down, so I'm glad it got rescinded.
This
We'll
is
make
Abigail.
that next one shorter. So while Rufus is doing that, we'll move on to minor league baseball game trip. Anything
I don't
on
have
there,
anything.
Jared?
I don't have anything to report on that right now.
Okay. Slamma Jamma basketball on its way, all good?
I've not heard back from Art. I've tried reaching out to him twice. We're trying to get the location figured out. I don't know what's going on. But Julia's been copied on all the emails and everything, so she knows I've really been trying. I just cannot get everyone to kind of agree on where we're going to do it. So it's looking like the first week would be at the Kent School and the second week would be at the Kent Center School. That's what we're looking at. Hopefully we'll have that confirmed by the end of this week.
Okay. Extravaganza update.
All ready to go. Got over 80 signups.
Awesome.
Concert series discussion.
Awesome. I have a question about eggs. I know there's a bunny suit, and there is a former commissioner who did express interest to participating. Then I could follow up with you, Jared, if you want to integrate that into the program in any way. But I can follow up with you offline.
What? I'm sorry. There was a former commissioner who wanted to be the bunny. You mean?
Yeah, that's been the bunny, and
Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely.
we don't
100%.
have to belabor it.
I was going to
Just
find
throw it
someone to
out
do
there.
it, but if you have someone that, yeah, no doubt.
Concert series.
Me and Connie began to discuss it, and we'll be discussing it more in the near future.
Movie series.
Nah, nothing to report right now. I want to have the conversation about the concert series first before I go anywhere with the movie series. But I did bring it up with the library because they've shown movies before, and they said they'd be interested in coordinating on a summer movie series. So we're going to talk about it more once we kind of get the concert series ironed out. We can then just kind of backfill in any movie series if you guys are interested in that.
Parks. We'll start with pickleball court prep update.
Nothing.
Assessment of trees.
It's on the schedule. John and Rick are going to be meeting with our tree warden to identify any trees or limbs that need to be pruned. That's going to take place in early April. Excuse me.
Emery Park and Camp Kent updates.
Nothing yet.
Emery Park had a tree fall down next to the shed. It only missed it by about 6 inches.
Ooh.
They cut up the tree, but they left most of the tree there. The town did. So that
Okay.
has to be taken care of. And then we should really look at, if we're looking at Camp Kent, we should look at the pool. It's time to get somebody out there to look at it and see what needs to be done as soon as possible. It needs a lot of repair, the walls.
When do we drain it?
Whenever you want to, we can drain it now if you want to. I mean, it's just, we just got to get Billy in there and then find out what he's going to charge us. It looks like there's a lot of, we might have to replace the hatch for the one of the areas near the pool. There's a lot of work that has to be done. Stuff is just flaking off the walls. So yeah, we need to take care of that right away. Get somebody out there.
Okay. I got Mike Gobble kind of lined up.
Good. Okay, great. Excellent. As soon as possible, because it's right around the corner.
Okay, I'll get
And
in
then-
touch with him. I'll send him a text.
So on the parks updates, I just had a talk with, just an hour ago, I had a talk with somebody who does that for a living as far as drainage goes. And he's putting together some, we went over it this afternoon, and he's putting together some information for us and costs. And that's going to go towards the cost for the Arpa Funding.
What is he gonna look at?
He's going to give us a guesstimate of what it was going to take to correct all the damage that's been caused by the flooding, the drainage, correct the drainage,
Oh, okay.
and
Not the
from the-
pool.
Yeah, because that's
Who
our,
is this, John?
this is a local resident, Jack Nelson.
And he's gonna give us a guesstimate?
Yes, because, I mean, there's a lot that has to be done. And
And
he's
that's
just,
gonna be of value to who?
it's going to be a value to us. So when we put it forward for the ARPA funding,
So, but this is a guesstimate that we're gonna
yeah,
try to
Jack is right
get
on
the
the money.
money from,
Jack is
Really?
right on the, comes for estimates. So, yeah.
okay.
I mean, because the price of materials have gone up. I mean, by the time this goes through, and prices of materials have probably doubled by then. So, yeah, it's only, you can't ask him to give you a complete estimate. So it's just a guess of what it's going to be in the next couple of months.
So we have money for that drainage in the capital fund. Would we be taking that out?
Well, is it designed for one park or is it designed for two parks?
I believe it was,
For both parks.
well, I
right?
believe we have 25,000 in the operating budget, or, in Park and Rec operating budget as opposed to capital budget, starting in July to fix the drainage at Kent Commons. And then we put the money into the capital fund to fix the drainage at Emery Park, the driveway and stuff that goes down.
But you won't be able to use that money till after you accumulate 5 years or 4 years.
This is true, so that's why I'm asking, do we take that money out? But we got to see if the ARPA funds would be awarded to us first.
Right, I would
But I
wait
guess
till,
that depends on timing.
yeah, I mean, the whole thing has to do with timing. I mean, we can't, the longer we wait, the more it deteriorates, especially at Emery Park and Commons Park with the water problems. And yeah, we're gonna need a lot of, to me, they've already put something in there for, what is it, 75,000, Jared? As a placemaker?
Yes, the placeholder was 75,000.
Do
So I
we
think we're
have
gonna-
somebody that's gonna do the topo for us? It's gonna be hard to do this work without a survey.
Well, the survey should be done by,
Do we have the
Oh, God.
estimate? Oh, sorry. My sound's been cutting out.
no, I was gonna say, we have somebody lined up for this survey. We just have to get them to get in there and do it. So, yeah.
So do we have estimates? Have we seen that?
No, I haven't seen that yet.
Okay. I think we really need to have that topo survey done. So if,
Well, you need it for that, because
Yeah.
there was never one done, and also you need it for the drainage to figure out how to do the drainage properly.
yeah, so if whoever it is that you have in mind, it would be wonderful to get their fee for that.
It's Gary Hawk, yeah. You want me to, if you want, I could be tasked to do that. I'll try and get Gary to give me the
Please,
information.
that would be wonderful.
I'm texting Gary right now.
good.
And I think we've learned a lot about what we can do with drainage when we have the survey.
Yeah, because that's our biggest problem right now. And you can't build a foundation when you have poor drainage. So I will have a guesstimate probably within the next couple of days of what it would cost to have both parks done to bring it into line. Don't forget too, that over in Emery Park, 341 is a problem with us because the water runs from 341, the state highway, into Emery Park. So that's one big issue that we have to deal with.
Also anything else on the good parks, John?
Well, just one other thing. I mean, it's just that those drainage pipes there on Commons Road, they got to be flushed out because our neighbor, Bob Inger, is kind of concerned because of the flooding that it backs up onto his lawn. So.
In our last meeting, did we do a motion for Jared to put together this funding proposal to have him do that? Did we all
did not.
agree that we wanted Jared to spend his time putting together the ARPA funding proposal?
Since I did the minutes last night, I know that we did not do a motion.
Okay, because that's taken a lot of your time to do. And I don't know if that was something we all were aware you were chasing down.
Well, it's already been submitted.
Okay.
I mean, I could, if you want me to, I can also talk to Craig Minor and see if he can talk to he's a senator from the state of Connecticut. I could ask him to see if they can do something there on that hillside to keep the water from running into the parks for now.
Yeah, I just think if we're pointedly asking Jared to spend time writing a grant when he's doing a lot of things, I think we as a commission need to know that we're asking his hours. That's a big amount of time to spend doing that. So I think it's better for
grant?
us if the
Well, all the
ARPA, he's
all
been
the
trying to,
information applies to him.
He has to write a grant for that? It's,
No,
to get the money, he has to spend a lot of time and go through a lot of hoops. So I think it's good for us to know that that's something that he's been doing.
Here's the deal with respect to the ARPA funding and what it has taken and will take is, in speaking with Barbara, basically, John and I had been speaking and John said, hey, spoke to some contractors, might be around 200,000. And I, spoke to Barbara about that. And she said that, we need something more concrete because, there's a lot of proposals coming in and they're all going to be scrutinized, and just a guesstimate with a number isn't really going to hold a lot of water. So I've been writing up and I forwarded it to John so he could review it, writing up a proposal. And, basically we need a better understanding of how much it's going to cost. But then furthermore, I spoke to Donna, who does the wetlands, and she said that that's going to be a whole nother element as well. And she recommended that we have an engineer involved because there's going to be permitting with respect to that. And we need to make sure. So, and any work that needs to be done will also need to be proposed to the Wetlands Commission or whatever the group is. So there is a lot, just to confirm what Abigail is saying. There will be a lot to this project. Do I think it needs to be done? Absolutely. I walked the parks with Rick the other day after speaking with John, and you could see exactly what John was talking about at both parks. Tremendous stormwater management issues. I mean, if there are culverts there, you can't even tell where they are. And I don't know enough about that to even levy an opinion. So that's just where we stand, and that's what it's going to take moving forward.
as for cleaning out the drainages down there, we've approved Ed to work, so we have that in the budget from last year, so we can ask him to do some things at the park. If we need him to fill in some holes for some temporary fixes on, on the path that got flooded out there. We have Ed to do, that we can do some of that stuff.
Yeah, and no doubt on that, that's going to be one of his first tasks that I will certainly be relaying to him. But I think, to John's point is, if we are going to try to get ARPA money, it needs to be, this is, we're in the 11th hour, so to speak. So but then to go back to Abigail's point, I think that an agreement and an understanding of what time is going to be spent on this, who's going to be doing what, et cetera, needs to be hashed out, because if we're in this, we're all in, and we have to do right and make a good proposal. And a good proposal isn't, we spoke to some people, maybe it'll cost this, we want to do this the right way. So, yeah.
Yeah, and so I think this is a lot to put on Jared to pull this together, and I don't know what the timing is, but I feel like the ship has sailed with ARPA, and there's a subcommittee, and I don't know what degree they are even aware of what's going on right now in this meeting with this request. So there's some coordination that I think is just missing, but I'm not 100% clear on all the details of ARPA in our town right now.
So I can't speak to the overarching over the ARPA commission and what really they're doing overall, but I do know that they are aware that we would like to ask for funding, and they were trying to coordinate all of the funding requests last week. And so Barbara said she would put in a $75,000 placeholder. Julia, a $75,000 placeholder, and a note that we would be getting more concrete numbers.
And the concrete numbers are coming from the gentleman, John, that you just mentioned. That's going to give us a guesstimate.
Yeah, it'll be, I mean, he can't predict what's going to happen 6 months down the road as far as supplies go. So he can give us an estimate, and then it'd have to go up. I mean, the cost of supplies and trying to get some of this stuff is really hard. So, I mean, look how long the sidewalks took.
And Jack is highly qualified to make that estimate so that we can have a number to move forward with. It will still have to go out to bid once the project is approved, but I think Jack can definitely give us an estimate so we have a number to work with.
Yeah, because that's all they're looking for is more of a concrete estimate. So we'll see what Jack has to say, and we'll bring it back. But as soon as possible, so we can relay that information to Jared, or relay that information to ARPA committee. And
So you're running point on this, John?
No, I'm helping him out. I mean, he asked me to help him out and explain everything to him, and I did.
So who's working with the gentleman who's getting us the estimate?
I just had Jack with me just a little while ago, because Jared had asked me to see what it would actually cost.
Yeah. When Barbara told me that, I honestly, I wouldn't have the time to really jump into that with a contractor or an engineer right now. As it was, baseball leaves more questions than it does even answer that I've even been able to answer. So as you can see, I just can't really bite off anymore. And I'm not trying to make excuses. I just literally cannot. So
I think the best we can do is get this number, give it to Barbara, and then, but if there's some kind of significant background or writing or grant proposal that they're going to expect will come along with that number, then I think that the ship's probably sailed.
I've already wrote up a 1 to 2 page proposal based on everything I saw, and my experience with, stormwater management. So it's already written up, but me writing things up only goes so far. So I think, Blythe, you're probably right. At this point, we get the numbers back from, John's guy. And if he could put that in writing, John, that would even be better.
Yep.
And we'll attach it to what I've already done. But
yeah, we've done a lot. We've I've, besides the diagrams and the areas that were identified, and then Jared transferred that over to a satellite vision. I mean, there's a lot of work that's been done on my behalf as well as Jared's. So yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, it sounds like we'll go with that as a plan with Jared's, brief write up, and hopefully that will be sufficient with everything that's been done by you guys together and with the estimate that we get from the guy.
All good on that subject? Any more discussion? All right.
Thanks, John, for the legwork.
Well, I'm not able to get around as much as I used to, so I had to sit in the car.
So many puns I'm throwing out and I don't even realize it.
Should we go back to baseball, softball now?
Is Rufus ready?
Did you find out anything, Rufus?
I'm still trying to get back. I know Park and Rec in New Milford does not offer it because the town has a youth baseball, softball board. And I've sent out a couple emails to their treasurer and president, but they haven't gotten back to me yet. But Dan, who runs P&Z, said, you know, $5 was, I think they gave out a hat, and that just basically covered the cost of the hat. Said, but you know, Leslie really didn't do anything to upgrade the programs, so it was just there. He said, you know, it depends on whether we want to have some programs for little kids basically town subsidized, or whether, you know, we want to try to even things out a little bit and make a little bit of money, so we're not, you know, taking a bath on everything. You know, I'm Jared's right. You know, if you give out a shirt, $5 doesn't even cover the cost of a shirt. So
Here's what sorry, Rufus, were you finished or?
yeah, no,
Okay.
I'm trying to get these, waiting for these guys.
Okay.
get
So
back to me.
here's what I think we need to do. As Abigail said, we're not going above 25 because that's what the other towns are charging anyway. You know, I just did some loose math here, and we're gonna, as someone said earlier, we're gonna operate as a loss no matter what, and that just is what it is at this point. We have the money in the budget to absorb it. Moving forward, we're gonna have to really do a better job. I guess I'll have to do a better job than I have done of, you know, explaining what the expenses will be, etc. But I think charging 25 across the board would be fair, which is what the other towns in Region 1 are doing. If you guys don't want to do that, then I would say 20, 20, 20, and then 25 for the older age group. So everything is 20 except the travel group, which is 25. But I think we'd be more than justified charging 25 across the board. And I know, Kate, you had asked for some more concrete numbers. I know right off the bat, a shirt's going to be $10 because I've already been in touch with the screen printer. I know right off the bat, 2 dozen balls for one team is going to be about $120. If you have 12 kids on a team, that comes out to about $10 per child. So you're looking at $20 right there. A hat is usually around $8. So that's going to be $28. A new bat, let's say you get 3 bats per team, you're looking at about $100. So once again, maybe another $8 per child. So already we're looking at 10, 20, 30, 35, 40. Then there's, I'm sure, soft costs. I haven't factored in teas, etc. Maybe it ends up costing $50 a child. I could be thrifty. So if it's costing about $50 a child, we're charging 25. We're subsidizing the other 25. If you guys are okay with that, I think we should rock and roll with it.
Would somebody like to either discuss that or make a motion? We'll make a motion,
I'll
then we
make
can discuss it.
Make a motion to have the youth baseball and softball programs for grades pre-K through grade 8.
Six, Abigail.
I'm sorry, grade, it says 6 right there. I didn't read it. Grade 6 at $20 for the stuff in Kent and the 25 for the travel program.
Can I interrupt for 1 second?
Can we have a second?
Please.
Second.
And we can discuss. Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead, Rufus.
So the president of the New Milford Youth Baseball, Softball, depends on the age group. I asked about pre-K through 3rd grade programs. 150 to 195. Depends on the age group, but around 150 to 195.
Now you have to remember that's most likely a nonprofit, so they're not subsidized by the taxpayer.
Right, they're
So
not.
they're gonna have a
outside of
different
Park and
scale.
Rec.
But even so,
Yeah.
that does go to show you guys what I've been trying to, unfortunately relay is that it's expensive.
Yeah, and Jared, I hope you know, I was in no way being critical. I was just saying, so we
No,
can.
no, listen,
So we can,
I
we
wish
can go to people and we can explain what the deficit, when they're like, holy moly, now it's
Yeah.
$25. We can say, this program actually runs a deficit of X number of dollars, we're doing the best we can. That's all I meant.
No, I know. I trust me. Hey, listen, you guys, you need to know the breakdown of it. So I get it. Like I said, I did some loose numbers, and I think average probably $50 a kid to run. And if we're charging 20 to 25, we're going to have to subsidize some of it, but the budget has been set up that way. If the fee always was $5, then there's no possible way we weren't always operating the program at a loss. It just, I couldn't fathom how it would be possible not to. So we're basically operating it in a similar way, but because goods have gone up, because we have literally almost no backstock of equipment, I think, the 20 to 25 is justified. And then I think for the future, I'm going to have to put together a real detailed proposal, starting with soccer. As Abigail said, we'll have that'll be the new school year. It'll be our new budget time, the start of a new budget year, fiscal year. There we go. And I'll have to, have a breakdown. This is how much soccer balls cost, which I've already been looking at them. They've gone up tremendously. This is how much new nets are going to cost. This is how much shin guards are going to cost, or whatever it is that we provide.
Yeah, and I think that we have to start getting, understanding what it is we're providing, what we're asking parents to pay in addition to the fee for us hosting the program. So, what's included and what's not. And with the soccer program, we didn't include t-shirts or sweatshirts. Parents paid for those, if they wanted them, but it was offered to them, but it wasn't a part of the program fee.
And I already spoke with the person who did the shirts for that, and we were both in agreement. It was what it was for soccer. You guys were trying to keep something alive, but I would never recommend doing it that way, because screen printers make money on volume. And so I think it should just be moving forward. You do a sports program, you're getting a t-shirt. That way everyone can be provided with a reasonable price t-shirt, and that makes a program look good, and it's advertising. You build it into the cost, and every kid is walking around with a Kent soccer shirt on, and it only stands to help the growth of the program. So
For sure.
I
And know-
understand why you guys
I don't
did
recall,
it,
I don't recall what we paid for USTA's program that we did, but that all came with t-shirts and a
Yeah.
racket. So, I think we got a lot of models going out there.
I think it was between $60 and $70.
There you go. So we got some models that we've worked with for the last year.
But yeah, I think that's a discussion of that going forward is going to be really imperative, but can we get back around to our vote?
Any further discussion on this? So the motion is to approve the softball, baseball programs for the varied ages at $20 for the in-house programs and $25 for the travel.
Yes. That's the motion.
Second on that, I'm sorry, I can't remember who it was. I know somebody, maybe Kate.
Yeah, I second it.
Blythe, okay. So any further discussion? All those in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, so Gary Hawk texted me back. He said, I believe you need a topographic maps or a topographic survey after talking with John. Are you working with an engineer on this? And I said, not yet. Asking for a recommendation on an engineer. Okay. Let's see if he gets back to that. All right, so we're done with parks. ASP director search update. Nothing has been done with that. ARPA funding proposal. Is there anything more we need to discuss on that? We discussed it previously. All right.
Oh, if I may, Lynn.
Yep.
I think Abigail, circling back to what Abigail was saying, if ARPA, if they say, hey, we accept your proposal, we want to move forward with it. I think everyone needs to be prepared for the work that will then result from that. And I just wanted to make sure that I was clear. I hope I was clear when I originally said it, but we'll have, besides the topographical map, we're still going to need an engineer to look at it. We're still going to need to figure out, how that's going to interact with this. Both, we have two water courses we have a water course at each park. So it's going to be impossible not to have to make a presentation before the Inlands Wetlands Commission, or I'm not sure their proper name, which it is going to be labor intensive, and hopefully I will have I'm hoping that someone on the commission will be able to assist in that process, because it a major project like that is going to take a lot of work, a lot of consulting, and I'm ready for it, and it needs to be done. John's 100% right. It absolutely 1000% needs to be addressed, but I just want to make sure we're all ready. If the ARPA committee says this is a great thing, we're going to really need to dive in. Like I said, we got to be all in on it. So
yeah, and I'm just going to piggyback on that. If we're going to be moving earth and thinking about drainage, we probably want to think about the future program of these parks as well. And if we want to add anything or take anything away, we're going to want to know that ahead of dealing with the drainage, because it would be a real waste of money to do it twice.
Well, just the process that it might take to get an engineer, to decide on an engineer and look at quotes for a topographical survey. I mean, we may be, just in terms of time wise, we may be out of time. Saying that, who's gonna be the engineer, I think we would probably have to go through the same process of vetting engineers, right? Or choosing engineers, having them come do a report. There's a lot of, I don't know what the deadline is for all of this supporting material, but it sounds like we're behind it.
We're behind, but I will say I'm not 100% sure anyone is really right now clear of what the deadlines are. I have not been given anything concrete. I think this is very much an evolving process for the town, the ARPA committee, even speaking with Barbara, like what the ARPA committee's been responsible for has even been shifting over the months. So, I mean, listen, are we behind? Yeah, we're definitely behind. How far? I don't really know, to be honest.
When you're running Camp Kent this summer, how much time are you going to have to do this as well?
Not much. And that's why I hope, like I said, I hope the commission will be able to be involved in this project, because we're trying to restart and ideally even reinvent our camp. I think that's going to take a lot of attention. And I think that if ARPA takes us seriously, that's going to take a lot of attention too. So I think it's going to be a real team effort is what it comes down to. And I know Lynn has, already said we're going to really tag team on, building Camp Kent back up, going through the proper procedures to do this the right way. But I think we both know it's gonna be a lot, so.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
in it. I'm in it for the long run.
All right, we'll move on to budget for fiscal year 23. I don't think we have anything to report on that, Jared.
The only things to report, the previous meeting, we made two motions. One to request $3,000 for a line item for online registration and program management. And the other was to request $30,000 for the ball field maintenance line, both of which I did at the board meeting. I think it was actually the next day or thereabouts, but that week. And with the Board of Selectmen meeting, I should say. And they were both received very well by the Board of Selectmen. As it currently stands, the Board of Selectmen originally put in 25 for the playing fields. It's since been lowered to 20. And online registration, still 3,000 as far as I know. And I think that's certainly a kind of a rah-rah moment, you know? I mean, even though we didn't get the 30, we may very well end up with the 20 if the Board of Finance moves forward with that. And I think that will go a very long way towards improving those fields, which just need it. And the online registration, we could have that rolled out in theory by the start of next school year. And I think people are going to love it. So.
Good job.
I'll add that even if you can't listen to the meeting, the Board of Finance meeting on Wednesday night, if you can't be there, try to go back and listen to the meeting. It's either on the Town of Kent website or it'll be on the Kent YouTube page, just so you know where they're standing and if we have to really fight for some funds, whether Park and Rec will even come up at this meeting, we don't know, but we have to keep on them. All right, anything for the 5-year capital plan discussion? Rufus, when do they start going over that? I know we're still working on the main
Well, we'll find out when the Board of Finance gets
on
back to
Wednesday.
us. Yeah,
Okay,
so they're gonna. Can I just give you a slight, because I got a little bit more information, just so that Jared has a general idea. So New Milford has a private group that does the softball and baseball. They have 3 seasons. Each one is 2 months long. Spring and fall are basically the 150 to 195. And then in the summer, it's travel and, you know, like U9 and U12. So, but they have to pay Town of New Milford for field maintenance and or not the town, but part of that. So, and the travel teams, $400 for the U9 and $1,100 for the U12, but they're offset with fundraising so that the kids, you know, do these fundraisers. And so that's general ballpark. But New Milford, you know, significantly larger town. And they used to have, I think they used to have 900 to 1,000 kids, but now they're down probably 300, 350, something like
That's how
that.
it used to be in my previous town. We were up around 1,000 at one point, dropped down to 200, back up to 500 a few years ago, and now back down to 300. It's baseball's a tough one. It's unfortunate,
is.
but you know.
So
regardless of our $15 increase, we are still way under the usual and customary at this point, or regular, whatever. Okay. 5-year capital plan, we said there was no discussion on that, correct? Anything?
yeah.
Bylaws and Constitution Committee updates. Before I
great
hand this
meeting.
over to the committee, can I just say something? So I listened to the last meeting and you guys are working very hard. You've got a lot done. But I had some questions and I was trying to just get some things straightened out with Darlene and have her answer and confirm some things. And she suggested that we talk to a town attorney. So I talked to Jean and got permission from Jean to talk to our town attorney, Lori Schiesel. And I was able to reach Lori today. She said she hasn't watched the last meeting, but she's seen some other ones. And she would like, rather than presenting anything tonight or, no, that's not what she said. She said, don't vote on anything tonight, but she would like to be at your next meeting. I don't know if you've scheduled a meeting for this Wednesday. I believe you were kind of doing them on Wednesdays. But she would like to be at your next meeting so she can help you all understand what's legal, what's not legal, what you can do, what you can take out, how to merge the Constitution and the bylaws, which she is actually recommending. So I said I would bring that thought tonight and that I would send her email and phone number over to Abigail or all of you on the committee, however you want to do it. So she can have the agenda or, when you set your next agenda, so she can be there to help.
Thank you. That's great. Yes, I've been in touch with Jean about liaising with the attorney. And that's where we got the green light to merge the Constitution and bylaws and actually do away with the Constitution and just work with the bylaws. The name that you're mentioning is not who I maybe recall, but this is great. And thank you for doing that. And we, so long as that's the town attorney, we'd love to have her join our meetings.
Yes, there are a couple of them. I'm guessing you're talking about Randy DeBella.
Yeah, I think Randy. Yep.
Yeah, I think it was Randy the first time around.
Randy did the, he was in that FOI video with Tom Hennick.
Yep.
For any of you that watched it, if you haven't watched that, please go do so.
Yep.
So yeah, and Lori is familiar with this. Lori is actually a former selectman, former first selectman in Kent for a few years, many years. I can't remember.
Many years. I served under her too as a selectman
Yeah.
back in the 90s.
So she really has the knowledge of how the town works, as well as, very good on FOI, all that stuff that we need to be involved with, the job description, the town ordinances, the bylaws, the Constitution, the state statutes. She's got it all under her belt. So I think that would benefit you and us greatly.
And so why are we working with her instead of Randy DeBella? Since I'm just asking because that's the person that originally chimed in.
So,
and he's the Kent town attorney.
She is also, we have a few different attorneys. She is also a Kent town attorney. She works she's in Kent at Kramer and Anderson. So that's one plus right there. She's already familiar with the situation. Like I said, she's watched a few of the bylaws and Constitution Committee meetings already. And she made the suggestion to Darlene that she would be willing to help Kent Park and Rec with these bylaw changes because they are such a legal matter. And there's so much legal stuff involved with them. So she just kind of, she's not volunteering, obviously, but she is.
We have to pay her for her time.
Yes, and it will go
so
under
we
the
are
town. Not Kent, that's why I had to get permission from Jean to talk to her. What were you going to say?
Bylaws group, do you have any comments on this?
I think, we've been trying to be very careful about anything that we want to suggest or take out or replace. We're, documenting every single change we want to make. And we definitely have our list of questions and maybe she can help us with that. And just if give us a little bit more. We certainly didn't get much from Randy DeBella at the beginning and it was kind of through Jean. So it'd be nice to have somebody directly that we could ask some questions about and who could give us a framework for what to do and how to do it and what not to touch. We're not touching the ordinance, but I think it would be helpful for all of us to feel like we aren't just picking our way through the dark with something that's not going to wind up being constitutional or legal,
Right.
legally acceptable. So it makes sense to me. I mean, we weren't really ready for any kind of a reading or presentation today at all. So
Okay.
I think we're like
Abigail, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, Abigail. but-
sessions. We've got a lot of sessions ahead of us to be anywhere near ready.
Yep.
Now that we're doing it line by line.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know if we have a cap on how much time we can work with her, but I think, you know, I just don't want to like have her join every meeting because we certainly still have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, no, I
Well,
think she'll want to come to this your next meeting and again, not lay down, but tell you some framework like you were saying and answer some of your questions and give you a direction to go in. And then obviously use her the least amount as possible, but get your have your questions ready and go from there. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I
what'll
think I'll
happen at
ask
your
her for
meeting.
an email. I think that would be really helpful to
I
have some
have her
guidance
email
written
for
out
you.
to
I'll
us.
send.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
sure.
I interrupted.
I think it will be great for her to write us the guidance. It'll help us be able to refer back to it and know what we're doing. So yes, please share her email. Thank you, Lynn.
Yeah, I'll send it over to you guys and her number. And yeah, she just wanted you to send the agenda when you get it, so she knows when to be on. She did prefer an in-person meeting, so I don't know if that's something you guys are doing.
I don't know if we're going to be doing that, but
She said it's just easier to converse and go over things and look at the paperwork together and things like that rather than online. Do you think we all agree with? I agree with. Let's see. So you guys, there's nothing that you needed to discuss anyway on that?
no,
Okay.
I have to sign off because it's 9 o'clock.
I have to go too.
We're just about done.
Bye, y'all.
Okay, Maston Playing Field Subcommittee update.
I
Nothing?
will speak on behalf of that unless Rufus or John wants to.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, still waiting to see where we end up for next year, but at least for this year, already been in touch with New England Turf Management. They've already been in touch with the school and set up a fertilizer. The normal spring work is going to be done in the coming weeks, so we already are on the schedule. So and that's according to the previously approved contract. So basically that contract kind of ends this spring, and then depending on what we have for the new year, fiscal year, we can the subcommittee will determine the next steps.
Was there,
If we have funds in this year's budget that might be turned back to the town, maybe we can prepay something. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I'll have to look at that more extensively, but we do I know some of the funds that we do still have right now will be going towards this early spring work that
Right.
transpires before the new fiscal year.
I mean, hopefully we won't lose any more over the next steps of the budget.
We probably
Yeah.
should use some of that money to replace the benches or the picnic tables that we lost at Emery Park.
for the snowboarders?
Yeah, butt heads. We can talk
Each
about
one
that
of
a
those-
different time, not tonight.
Each one of those, just for FYI to everybody, each one of those plastic picnic tables is $700, not including shipping.
Wow.
There
Um,
was a unopened bench in the supply closet.
2 of them,
Oh, sweet. Okay.
How big is that one?
probably 6 feet.
All right,
Interesting
that's-
thing to find in there.
2 of them actually, right, John? I mean, right, Mike?
Sounds right.
Yeah.
Well, if you can get them delivered, let me know and I'll put them together.
Okay, great. Excuse me.
Who's on the playing field subcommittee now? Who did we get as who is it?
Well, I'm representing the Board of Ed. That's what I was, they asked me to be on that committee, so I can't be on both at the same time.
Correct.
And then wasn't Miranda on it too?
So it's just John and Miranda right now.
John, Miranda, me, and I believe Rufus was the fourth, right, Rufus?
Yeah.
Well, you two guys we have to make a proposal to the town, right, Rufus?
I would think so.
Yeah. So we'll have to add your two names to the subcommittee.
All right. We'll deal with that another time, next meeting. Master Plan Committee update. I don't know that there even needs to be on here anymore because we can't do anything for at least 5 years. So if it makes it through the capital plan. Spring program, the only thing there is the ultimate Frisbee discussion. Do we need to have that now, Jared, or can we table
No,
that, postpone
We can
that?
table it.
Okay. Before I sign off, I wasn't at the last meeting. I did have some things to say, but this meeting has gone on too long and I'm not gonna discuss that now. One thing I just want to be aware of, Jared, I know you asked if you could be invited into the bylaws and subcommittee, the bylaws and constitution committee meeting. Those are all public meetings. All our meetings are public. And as a director, you should be there. You are basically an ex officio non-voting member of all committees. So, and any member of the public, somebody in California could go on to that meeting and they do not have to identify themselves. They could go on as iPhone 1 and sit there and listen to the meeting. They do not have to be allowed to speak because you don't have public comment on the agenda, but like how we do it here, we don't, if somebody has something to say about something on our agenda, we usually let them speak. We're not that strict like they are at Board of Ed meetings and stuff like that. But yeah, you are absolutely invited to any warned meeting.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you. I
Park and Rec
appreciate the heads up.
or anybody. Yeah.
Okay,
Hey,
cool.
Lynn,
Yes.
I just wanted to say, at the last bylaws meeting, I feel like we were looking through the bylaws and all we could find was that both the third selectman and the director were both ex officio members, but not that the director was ex officio non-voting.
Yes, so there is another section in the bylaws and actually it's a
Maybe we just
rule.
didn't get there. Okay.
There's a rule that a commission member or a voting member cannot be a paid employee. So that's where that differentiates between Rufus and Jared.
That was the kind of where we ended up our last meeting there. And we said, we thought there was something weird because it was different in two places or something like that. So that was one of the questions that we had to ask. So.
But that's also weird because Rufus is a paid employee too.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, wait a sec.
Exactly.
That's
So
what I was
look at
told
that.
today. And well, actually, no, reading through the bylaws and the Constitution, I can't remember what it's in, but it says under membership that they cannot be a paid employee of the town.
Mhm.
But we
Right,
were
but then it
also
lists, and then it
told
lists
that
them
Rufus,
both as ex officio, but not ex
Yeah.
officio non-voting, which is completely contradictory. So,
yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
okay, good
I
clarification.
knew there was a reason why the director, but then as I'm just saying this now, I'm like, wait a minute, that fits Rufus too. So
Yeah.
that definitely needs some clarification and bring that up to Lori and see what
Yep.
she says, because we've had that whole talk with ex officios and alternates and that stuff just really needs to be cleared up. It's not
Yep.
fair.
Yeah, that was one of the things we tried to work on in our last meeting was a lot of specific language about the alternates, pulling that all together so that everybody understood. So it's
Yeah.
good. All right.
All
Thanks.
right, we are done. Next Park and Rec meeting is April 4th at 7 p.m. Thank you all for hanging out with us for the evening. Have a wonderful evening and we will adjourn this meeting at 9:07.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Talk to
Thank
you.
Chris.
Take care,
Good
everybody.
night.
Hi.
Kristen, did you want to say something?
Talk to Chris. Don't forget to talk to Chris.
Yeah, I have it written down right here.
Okay.
All righty. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Good night.